Welcome to the Soulcery Podcast, your sacred space to delve into spiritual tools, topics, and practices that will illuminate your path of soul remembering and healing. I'm your host, Lígia Costa, a soul guide, alchemist, soul writing coach, and the creator of the Trust Pathway. I'm deeply grateful to have you here with me. Together, we will embark on a profound exploration of self-discovery and healing, unlocking the secrets that lie within. Welcome back to the Soulcery Podcast. I am Ligia, and today we are continuing with the theme of the role of a spiritual teacher that we started to explore last week. But today we are going to explore the relationship between teacher and student. As we navigate the realms of spirituality, it is essential to understand the intricacy that distinguish a spiritual teacher from a regular teacher, because a regular teacher shares knowledge with the expectation that the student will gain understanding or will gain skills by the end of the teaching. And as an example, we see that every day with normal school education. The student goes to school, the teacher has a curriculum to follow, and shares the knowledge, shares the teaching, shares the curriculum with the expectation that by the end of the school year, the student have learned everything that he was supposed to. But a spiritual teacher is very different. The purpose of a spiritual teacher is to guide the student, is not to teach, is to serve as a guide for the student to recognize their own inner essence, their own inner nature. It's like teaching someone to be aware of the shoulders they already have, if it makes sense. Now, you might be wondering, why do we need a spiritual teacher if all of us have one deep within? If we already have a spiritual teacher inside, and that's the best spiritual teacher of all, why do we need one? And the answer is that as soul beings having a human experience, and with the gift of the free will that we all have, we also have to deal with our human ego. And let's be honest, our ego can be very stubborn, and it can be really difficult to sometimes follow the guidance within us when our ego has a very loud voice and keeps feeding us with fears and doubts. And everyone goes through this, and it doesn't matter how much wisdom and healing you have done, spiritually and emotionally, because healing comes in layers. Healing is just like an onion. You peel a layer and there are more layers to be peeled. So we never get rid of ego, and we'll never be able to get rid of ego. Even spiritual masters and spiritual gurus, because that would mean taking away all our humanness. And as much as aware and awakening we are, the truth is we can't take our humanness away. So we can't take the ego away. Now, having a spiritual teacher is like having this sounding board that keeps us on track, that will guide us through seeking the answers within, through really trusting ourselves, and also to create a safe space for us to just vent and be human, and then have the realization that there are patterns to be changed, things to be healed even deeper, and that we also don't feel that we are navigating this journey alone. And so the role of a spiritual teacher and a student will exist until the student realizes their true nature. And it doesn't mean it's permanent. Most often, it's a temporary role. The same way we go to the doctor when we need medical care and we need an expert opinion. A spiritual teacher serves in our spiritual unfoldment until there is nothing else to teach, until the student is able to do it on his own. And even so, the journey might continue. We might decide that we still want to get inspired and get guidance from a spiritual teacher, as long as we understand that only us can take radical responsibility for the path that we are taking, and that is up to us, the unfolding of this spiritual journey. And that's where the key for this relationship lies, because it's recognizing that the true nature between having a spiritual teacher and the student is not a part of one's identity. It only exists to a certain level, to a surface level, and it exists until the role in this journey is complete. It's often said that people come into our lives for a reason, for a season, or for a lifetime. I believe a spiritual teacher comes into our lives for a reason and for a season. Either we need or are ready to have a spiritual teacher in our lives, and when we are ready, they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So the universe sends someone in our journey to fulfill that role. And then it stays for a season, and the season is until the journey is complete. So when choosing to work with a spiritual teacher, it's really important to take some considerations, because you want someone who not only knows the path, but also embodies the qualities of a genuine service. Someone that acts with ethics and with integrity. And these days, it's a bit difficult to sometimes know the true intentions of a spiritual teacher, because most of the service are done online and people just share what they want others to know. And sometimes most things are just for likes and just for the greed, if you know what I mean. It doesn't necessarily translate how the spiritual teacher lives with integrity and works with integrity and with ethics. But there is still the possibility, to use the internet in our advantage and do some research prior to choosing a spiritual teacher to work with. And so read other people's experiences and perspectives and testimonials and feedback, but obviously also remember that each narrative is colored by personal condition, and that sometimes people seek spiritual teachers and spiritual guides and coaches thinking that they will have a magic pill and all the answers, and then they might blame the lack of results projected into the spiritual teacher rather than taking responsibility for their part on the journey. And for more information about this, you can go back to our previous episodes where I explain more the misconceptions about a spiritual teacher and what exactly is the role of the spiritual teacher. But in essence, always use your own discernment and tune in to yourself and to what feels true to you. Now, it's important to address as well how to measure the effectiveness of a spiritual teacher. And it is not about the number of followers that they have on social media. It's not about how eloquent they are with their words. It's not about the photos they share. The real way to measure how a spiritual teacher is effective, it's about the depth of your own realization when you are in the presence of that person. And it can be an online presence, but it is about what you notice what you can see mirrored back to you when you read their posts, when they share what worked for them, when you witness how they navigate their own experiences and struggles. What can you notice mirroring back to you? Do you feel understood? Do you feel seen? Do you feel inspired? Do you feel a good energy around that person or about that person and about what they share? This is how you measure how effective they are. They might have 100 followers on Instagram. It doesn't mean that they are not an effective spiritual teacher if compared with someone with 15,000 followers. Because this is how the ego measures achievements and worth and success. It's not really how our soul measures those things. Each person's spiritual path is very personal. It's very unique to each one of us. But the teacher is a guide, is not a destination. So he's there to show you what is possible. He's there to reflect back at you your own strengths, your own gifts, that more often than not, it's visible to other people, but you struggle to see it and believe it yourself. But when you are in the presence of that person, when you read their posts, when you hear their stories, and you can see yourself reflected back, and you can see yourself, your own potential and the things that you forgot about you, then you know that you are in the presence of the right spiritual teacher for you. As we navigate the realms of spirituality, we might be faced with the question of surrendering and devotion. And what I mean by this is that we often feel a battle inside, whether we need to give up all our control in order to receive the deepest benefits of a teacher's guidance. If we just have to surrender and trust that the spiritual teacher or the spiritual guide or the spiritual coach knows what's best for us, and so we just need to follow their instructions and their guidance. And the answer is a very strong no, because your true nature is already present, and there is nothing a spiritual teacher needs to give or take for that recognition to occur. You don't have to give up control of anything, because a true spiritual teacher never, ever, ever demands total surrender. They understand that they are there to serve your recognition of your true self. He understands that as soul beings having a human experience, we have free will. And it's that free will that gives us the power to control our own choices, our own decisions. And yes, it's true, a spiritual teacher can see something that possibly you are blocking yourself to see. And they might see a solution that you can't see yet for yourself. And yes, they might suggest a way of seeking that guidance and those solutions for yourself. But the control is in you, the power is in you, the choice is yours. So as much as you might surrender in terms of being open to other perspectives, being open to listen and to reflect and to get guidance, you don't surrender your power. You surrender maybe that side of your ego that is trying to keep you stuck in the same pattern and in the same place in life because it's too fearful to move on, to move forward. But you don't surrender control. And any time there is a demand of some sort for you to surrender, or there is any kind of pressure for total devotion, that's a red flag. That is dangerous because it's misuse and abuse of power. So be aware of any teacher who demands this kind of total surrender, because the truth and compassion and understanding are given freely. They are limitless. And so a spiritual teacher that has the need to guard it or only to share it with the few that give complete surrender and complete devotion, that's a red flag. And something that comes to mind is a documentary that I watched not long ago called The Twin Flames. And I think a lot of people that watched it put everyone in the same bag, that all spiritual teachers are cult leaders, and that is just not the truth. And that's why I feel it's so important to understand the role of a true spiritual teacher and the essence of a true spiritual teacher. And it was a very interesting documentary if you look at it from the psychological side as well as the spiritual side. But if you watch that documentary, you can absolutely tell that they were very manipulative. They were very in the ego. And this need for having total devotion, at some point he believed it was Jesus Christ incarnated. So he just wanted that validation. He just wanted that total devotion to him and to the teachings he was sharing, and only his own truth was the truth. And so that was very narcissistic and manipulative, and that is a red flag. So not all spiritual teachers are like that. Trust me. Obviously, we hear about these things and documentaries are made to bring people's awareness of things, but we can see this kind of cult-like, per se, behaviors in many fields. In politics, we see that in religion, and obviously spirituality. But this is because it's people that are driven by their ego. And they claim to be these divine sources. And people believe it. Unfortunately, some people believe it. But yeah, I found it very interesting just to make the correlation between this big ask for the student to surrender and to be completely devoted in order to receive the wisdom and the love and the compassion and the time. And that is just a red flag. That is not a true spiritual teacher. This is not to say that there is a kind of devotion or love that can naturally flourish between the teacher and the student within their relationship. And that is a very pure devotion, because it's that one that comes from immense gratitude for the truth that is seen. Is the appreciation of everything and nothing at the same time. Is when the student is devoted to the teacher because understands that even though the teacher didn't do anything, didn't give any answers, it helped the student for everything to happen. So it's this kind of strange gratitude and appreciation between everything and nothing at the same time, but it's very pure and very beautiful. And it's just a testament to the profound impact that a true spiritual teacher can have on a student's journey. As we wrap up this soulful conversation, I would like to remind you that the essence of a spiritual teacher lies in their ability to guide you to your own recognition. The rest, the titles, the roles, the followers, the engagement, the likes, the lifestyle, is all secondary. It's not what matters. Is how you feel around that person, how you feel in their container, in their energy, and what you are able to see mirrored back at you when you are in their presence, reading their posts, reading their stories, hearing their experiences, but you see yourself in it. And you see like breakthroughs, channel breakthroughs from those conversations. Before we finish this episode, I will pull a card from the Trust Journaling deck for you to reflect on, for you to journal about, to go within and seek answers within. And the card that I just pulled is from the Thrive Suite. And the soul inquiry is, what is the gap between here what I have, what I am, and there, what I want. What is the gap between here and there? And the affirmation is, I have everything I need within. And I think this affirmation just closed this episode very, very beautifully, because you do have everything you need, everything you are within you. You don't need a spiritual guide to give you those answers. Is not the reason why you seek a spiritual guide, a spiritual teacher. Is only there to help you unfold the layers of your own being and give you the guidance and share with you wisdom that will resonate with your true nature, with your true self. But everything you need is already inside you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to the Soulcery Podcast and for holding space for this conversation. It is truly magical to be able to walk with you on this journey of soul healing and inner transformation. If you resonated with this episode and found it valuable, I would be grateful if you could leave a review on iTunes. Your feedback helps me reach more souls searching for guidance and healing. For more guidance and soul wisdom to support soul awakening women through the journey of alchemy, please visit my website www.ligiacosta.co.uk. Love and healing to all. See you on the next one.